Today we're going to dive into how one iconic brand seems to have set off an explosion of controversy over a relatively small promotional marketing sponsorship that threatens to wipe millions or even billions of dollars from the value of a company. Today, we're covering the Bud Light saga. Welcome to The Gap. We're going to be doing a breakdown of the events around the crazy Bud Light controversy, covering the traditional Bud Light marketing, the new VP of marketing for Bud Light and her new branding direction, the involvement of Dylan Mulvaney as a social media influencer, and the promotional event involved, the backlash and the boycott, and how Anheuser-Busch responded and handled the situation, and lastly, the options for Bud Light going forward from here. Anheuser-Busch is a leading beer company in the United States with a wide range of both mainstream and craft beer brands. Bud Light is an iconic brand of beer that has consistently been one of the top-selling beers in the United States, promoted by its humorous advertising campaigns such as The Real Men of Genius and later, the catchphrase Dilly Dilly series.
Sir Jeremy, you are a true friend of the crown. Dilly dilly. Dilly dilly. Madam Susan, you are an even truer friend of the crown. Dilly dilly. Dilly dilly. What is that?
This is a spiced honey mead wine that I have really been into lately. So, dilly dilly, right?
Please follow Sir Brad. He's going to give you a private tour of the pit of misery.
I'm sorry, what? Pit of misery, dilly dilly. Dilly dilly.
Enter Alyssa Heinerscheid, who was appointed the VP for marketing for Bud Light and is the first woman ever to lead the popular brand. In an interview with Fortune in February of 2003, prior to the current drama, she discussed a number of aspects about her approach for driving the growth of the Bud Light brand and the direction for her new marketing campaign. Heinerscheid says Bud Light as a brand has been everything to everyone, and as a result, we've not been mindful about where it shows up. She goes on to say that as a mother, one strategic priority was to make sure that women were represented and that female representation was a personal passion point for her. When talking about the new Bud Light campaign, she said the campaign was meant to feel different, to be lighter and brighter, with a confidence and magnetism, and it was really critical to depict real people in real places. What I need to do is to help this brand evolve. That's my passion point, she said. She indicated that the idea behind both commercials is to take it easy and to choose enjoyment over what could be frustrating moments. You can either let something ruin your mood, or you can choose to enjoy yourself, and that's what the Super Bowl ad was all about. Heinerscheid indicated that when they were looking at the job to be done and how to attract new drinkers, they also started out with figuring out who Bud Light was as a brand and what did they stand for. She said they'd been pretty inconsistent in their messaging over the years and that they needed to establish who they were and consistently message this in the years to come. She went on to say that we see the Super Bowl ad as ushering in a new era for Bud Light. However, as history would mark, it wasn't the Super Bowl, but rather their promotional connection to another sporting event that would change things. A day before the partnership with Mulvaney was announced, Heinerscheid was interviewed on a podcast, Make Yourself at Home, where she talked about her work with transforming the Bud Light brand and moving away from what she described as its fratty and out-of-touch humor. She described it as a beer company that embraced a lighter and brighter approach and that also embraced inclusivity.
I'm a businesswoman. I had a really clear job to do when I took over Bud Light. And it was, this brand is in decline. It's been in decline for a really long time. And if we do not attract young drinkers to come and drink this brand, there will be no future for Bud Light. So I had this super clear mandate. It's like we need to evolve and elevate this incredibly iconic brand. And what I brought to that was a belief in, okay, what does evolve and elevate mean? It means inclusivity. It means shifting the tone. It means having a campaign that's truly inclusive and feels lighter and brighter and different and appeals to women and to men. And representation is at sort of the heart of evolution. You've got to see people who reflect you in the work. And we had this hangover. I mean, Bud Light had been kind of a brand of fratty, kind of out of touch humor. And it was really important that we had another approach.
Heinerscheid had already set out the strategic direction that she wanted the team to take, with redirecting the brand and having it evolve. They already had the key changes in place, as we could see from the changes from the earlier 2 videos that were released from around the Super Bowl time. The team had already been working on their plans, and part of those plans was the engagement of the social media influencer Dylan Mulvaney for a promotional sponsorship as part of their March Madness campaign. Dylan Mulvaney is an American actor, comedian, and TikTok personality. Mulvaney came out as a trans woman in March of 2022. It was around this time that Mulvaney began a TikTok series called Days of Girlhood, in which Mulvaney documented the daily life as a trans woman, documenting experiences with hormone replacement therapy, to hatred from anti-trans opponents, to the result of Mulvaney's facial feminization surgery. As of April 2023, Mulvaney had more than 10 million followers on TikTok, while the video series Days of Girlhood had received over 1 billion views. With Mulvaney's growing popularity online, Mulvaney began partnering with big brands including Kate Spade, the natural deodorant company, the hair care line Olaplex, as well as with Nike.
Hi! Impressive carrying skills, right? I got some Bud Lights for us. So, I kept hearing about this thing called March Madness, and I thought we were all just having a hectic month, but it turns out it has something to do with sports. And I'm not sure exactly which sport, but either way, it's a cause to celebrate. This month, I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it. Check out my Instagram story to see how you can enjoy March Madness with Bud Light and maybe win some money too. Love ya! Cheers! Go team! Whatever team you love, I love too. Okay. Love ya. Okay, break a leg.
The reaction was swift from Bud Light customers who were upset by the use of Mulvaney for a Bud Light NCAA sweepstakes promotion, where the influencer was also provided with a commemorative can with Mulvaney's face on it. A number of celebrities, musicians, political figures, regular consumers, and conservative media expressed their dislike for the promotional activity using a trans woman influencer, and called for a boycott of Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch beer brands.
Fuck Bud Light and fuck Anheuser-Busch. Have a terrific day.
No more Anheuser-Busch products in this house. Want to play the woke game? It's fine. Not spending my money on it. Peace out. Sam Adams and back at you, buddy.
If you don't know why I'm doing this, you might want to Google it. I never thought this was going to happen. Bud Light?
I'm not sure what the big deal is about Bud Light. It's just beer.
Now. But for Anheuser-Busch,
What the
Bud Light, all Bud products,
What
you
the
know me, you know how many of these get refilled in my fridge every week.
What the
Over 5,600 news articles were published about the controversy in 2 weeks. The news received over 6 million social interactions, such as likes, shares, and comments, according to the NewsWhip data. The most shared articles came from right-wing publications, including The Blaze, Daily Wire, and Rare.us. Reports quickly showed up in the media of a significant broad-based drop in sales of Bud Light across the United States over the following weeks in April. The data in the decline of sales came from a range of sources, from anecdotal reports from bars, retailers, and suppliers to reports from market intelligence firms. These figures generally indicated a year-on-year decline of around 6% in the first week to up to 26% in the final week of April. These reports were accompanied by social media posts also showing stores with plenty of unsold stock of Bud Light, while stock of other beer brands were selling out instead. The true details as to the extent of the sales decline will declare itself in time. Unsurprisingly, Anheuser-Busch's stock price also took a hit. Sales of competitors' beer brands, especially Coors and Miller Lite, correspondingly saw significant increases in sales during the same period, indicating that Bud Light consumers were switching to alternative beers, and that the decline was also spreading to other Anheuser-Busch beer brands. We hope you're enjoying the video and would appreciate it if you could help us as a starter channel to grow and produce more videos like this by giving us a like and subscribe. Meanwhile, back to the saga. Anheuser-Busch's only comment on the matter during this period had been a single statement confirming the Bud Light cans showing Mulvaney's face were a personal gift to the influencer and not for sale to the public. Anheuser-Busch works with hundreds of influencers across our brands as one of the many ways to authentically connect with audiences across various demographics, Anheuser-Busch said in a statement. From time to time, we produce unique commemorative cans for fans and for brand influencers, like Dylan Mulvaney. This commemorative can was a gift to celebrate the personal milestone, presumably of her 365 days of girlhood, and is not for sale to the general public. Since the calls for a boycott for the beer began at the start of April, Bud Light continued to remain silent on its social media channels for nearly 2 weeks. Remarkably, there was no response or commentary made by Heinerscheid, who was the VP for the brand. The silence was eventually broken with a fresh post with a message from Anheuser-Busch's CEO, Brendan Whitworth. Whitworth wrote about the heritage of the company and how it was part of many Americans' lives. As the CEO of a company founded in America's heartland more than 165 years ago, I am responsible for ensuring that every consumer feels proud of the beer that we brew. Whitworth went on to say, "We never intended to be part of a discussion that divides people. We're in the business of bringing people together over a beer. My time serving this country taught me the importance of accountability and the values upon which America was founded, on freedom, hard work, and respect for each other. As the CEO of Anheuser-Busch, I am focused on building and protecting our remarkable history and heritage. I care deeply about this country, our company, our brands, and our partners. I spend much of my time traveling across America listening to and learning from our customers, distributors, and others. Moving forward, I will continue to work tirelessly to bring great beers to consumers across our nation." The response from the CEO did little to quell the anger, as the statement did not specifically address the details of the incident and did not indicate any apology, which many of those who were upset by the incident seemed to be asking for. Also timed with the release of the letter from the CEO, Bud Light also tweeted a "Thank God It's Friday" post, which was quickly responded to by detractors with mocking alterations to the acronym or with direct anti-trans responses. Also at the same time, Budweiser, Bud Light's sister brand, released a new advertisement featuring very patriotic overtones and also included its signature Clydesdale horse, perhaps in an attempt to distance the perspective from Bud Light and retain its more conservative consumers.
Of America, found in a community where a handshake is a sure contract. Brewed for those who found opportunity in challenge and hope in tomorrow. Raised by generations, willing to sip, share, risk, remember. This is a story bigger than beer. This is the story of the American spirit.
Amongst the limited feedback from Anheuser-Busch, Heinerscheid was not to be heard from again. Heinerscheid, as Vice President of Marketing for Bud Light, and her boss, Daniel Blake, who was the group vice president for marketing, both went on a leave of absence. There was some debate as to whether this was voluntary or involuntary. Given the circumstances, Alyssa has decided to take a leave of absence, which we support, said an Anheuser-Busch spokesperson. Daniel has also decided to take a leave of absence. In the wake of the uproar, media reports indicated that there was a disconnect between planning teams for media activities and senior management. Anonymous sources from inside the company were quoted as saying, "No one at senior management was aware that this was happening." Some low-level marketing staffer, who helps manage the hundreds of influencer engagements, must have thought that this was no big deal. Obviously it was, and it's a shame because they have a well-earned reputation for just being America's beer, not a political company. It was a mistake. It was then announced that Heinerscheid's role would be taken over by Budweiser's global marketing VP, Todd Allen. Anheuser-Busch said, "We've made some adjustments to streamline the structure of our marketing function to reduce layers so that our most senior marketeers are more closely connected to every aspect of our brand's activities. These steps will help us to maintain focus on the things we do best, brewing great beer for all customers, while making a positive impact on our communities and our country." Despite the Mulvaney controversy, Heinerscheid had already expressed her perspectives on a change in direction for Bud Light's marketing, and that many of those aspects of a lighter, fun, younger focus with a stronger or more balanced female representation in the ads were clearly evident in the easy-to-drink, easy-to-enjoy series. Two of the series, titled Hold and Carry, shown earlier in the video, had already been released prior to the Mulvaney episode without any issue. Without further public comment on the Mulvaney backlash and the boycott, Bud Light went on to release the third advertisement in the series, called Shower, on the 28th of April. The new ad was released to coincide with the NFL draft and quickly received over 10 million views within a few days. However, it quickly became evident that despite the ad continuing with the safer, easy-to-drink, easy-to-enjoy series that was launched for the Super Bowl and prior to the Mulvaney debacle, the ad still received negative response as a residual effect of the ongoing anger being directed towards Anheuser-Busch. The video also received a massive dislike ratio of over 50-1, with only 253 likes compared to over 13,000 dislikes, indicating a substantial, ongoing unhappiness with the brand. The company was also called out for turning off comments on the ad, but this should not really be surprising, given the situation. Detractors still voiced their displeasure with the new advertisement on Twitter and other social media platforms. With looking at the issues as to what went wrong, one of the key points to note about this was the timing of the promotion. This was a time when there were many other gender and transgender issues specifically being discussed relating to gender identity versus sex, what is the woman debate, the discussions over the use of pronouns, transgender rights, and participation in sports largely focused on trans women competing in women's sports and the fairness. But this is a whole other area that won't be dissected in this video. Point is, it's not about what perspective or what side of the debate folks are on, but rather that there was already a primed and sensitized social and political environment into which the promotion was launched. Much of the backlash was partially related to the perceived ridiculing of a significant enough proportion of the traditional Bud Light consumers that generally had a fairly conservative demographic, by utilizing a trans woman for the promotion of the product and in conjunction with a major sporting event that the influencer has no connection with. There's a lot of branding association that's been built up with Bud Light and the emotional position associated with the product from previous years of Bud Light's advertising programs. In early May, a further statement was provided by Michelle Ducaris, who is the CEO of AB InBev, the parent company of Anheuser-Busch. Ducaris sought to refocus the perception of the incident when, at an investors' meeting in early May, he said,
"While beer will always be at the table when important topics are debated, the beer itself should not be the focus of the debate. And to me, this is the key learning. So moving forward, one challenge is what you call the misinformation and confusion that still exists. will need to continue to clarify the facts. This was the result of one can. It was not made for production or sale to general public. It was one post, not a formal campaign or advertisement. And repeat this message for some time. Bud Light campaign is easy to drink, easy to enjoy.
Clearly, he was attempting to downplay the significance of the use of Mulvaney for the sweepstakes promotion.
We work every day to delight our consumers and bring people together. When we do this well, our brands perform.
Clearly, this was an occasion where this was not done well, and the brand has suffered accordingly. Meanwhile, a letter was sent to retailers, bars, and restaurants by Anheuser-Busch distributors. The letter stated that, in reality, the Bud Light can posted by a social media influencer that sparked all the conversation was provided by an outside agency without Anheuser-Busch's management awareness or approval, but largely directing the focus on the can rather than the influencer used. This would likely serve to redirect and sidestep the core issue. Investors were also told by Ducaris that Bud Light will triple its marketing spend this summer in a bid to woo customers back to the tarnished brand. He added that the company is providing direct financial support to frontline workers impacted by the boycott. So there would always be an option at this point for Anheuser-Busch to backtrack and deliver an apology indicating that it was all a bad call. But this would seem like an unlikely approach for Anheuser-Busch to take. There has been no indication in the months since the controversy erupted that the company was going to do this. As the CEO commented that they never intended to be part of a discussion that divides people and that they were in the business of bringing people together over a beer. Second point to this is that openly backtracking to deliver an open apology and directly referencing the promotional event using Mulvaney would simply ignite further attention on the divisive issue and potentially anger others who were supportive of the use of Mulvaney or would see Anheuser-Busch simply buckling under the social pressure of angry conservatives, setting it up as a target in the future. An apology also may not satisfy many of those who are angered by the event, either because the apology was coming too late or it being insufficient in the terms of the apology. This has Anheuser-Busch running the risk of losing out on both sides. Another option for Anheuser-Busch is that it goes all in and commits to the inclusiveness initiative to refresh the Bud Light brand and to engage newer segments of consumers that Bud Light may not have considered because of the massive amount of tension this initiative has created. This may present the opportunity to leverage off the attention to further accelerate the brand's transition, although this seems unlikely, as although Anheuser-Busch has, like many other beer brands, engaged in promotional activities in the support of LGBT groups, it's not likely that this is a hill that they want to die on by further alienating more of their core consumer base. They had already signaled an inclination for a wider inclusive approach by the engagement with Mulvaney in the first place, despite the risk of the negative response from more conservative consumers. Anheuser-Busch further engaging in the controversy by picking sides will likely just fuel the fire, extending the controversy and continue the distraction from their other mainstream marketing, particularly at a time when Anheuser-Busch is trying to boost the appeal of Bud Light. The third option is Anheuser-Busch plays the long game. They keep their head down to let the dust settle and avoid stoking the fire further, but not backtracking on the initiative. They figure that whatever damage has been done is done, and that the fact that the brand has actually received a huge amount of attention from the incident, negative or otherwise, could still garner a greater number of impressions from those who are not upset by the incident, particularly if they move back to a somewhat more conventional branding image that still incorporates the aspects of inclusiveness and targeting a younger audience with a greater female representation. However, this approach of also distancing themselves from the promotional event and the muted response in the open letter from the CEO of Anheuser-Busch has also drawn criticism from the LGBTQ community, and bars with a prominent tavern group in Chicago leading their actions in a post indicating that they would also be boycotting Anheuser-Busch's beers. In the post they stated, Anheuser-Busch's decision to drop its support of Mulvaney in response to ignorant and hateful objections by some of its customers shows how little Anheuser-Busch cares about the LGBTQA+ community, and in particular transgender people, who have been under unrelenting attack in this country. Its CEO's statement, in which he all but erased transgender people in favor of anti-trans vitriol, was cruel and hurtful. CEO Brendan Whitworth's excuse that Anheuser-Busch never intended to be part of a discussion that divides people was tantamount to saying that the rights and safety of transgender people are topics worthy of debate. They are not. You cannot claim to be in support of the LGBTQIA+ community if you don't support the T, and saying that the rights and safety of transgender people are controversial says loud and clear that you don't support us. Whitworth went on to say that he is responsible for ensuring every customer feels proud of the beer AB brews. But we certainly do not feel proud of a beer or a company that chooses hate over acceptance and diversity. Since Anheuser-Busch does not support us, we will not support it. We gave Anheuser-Busch some time to revisit its position, hoping it would realize it acted in haste. It did not. Instead, it went further in the wrong direction, apparently seeking to punish the people who came up with the plan to recognize Mulvaney in the first place by placing several of them on leave. That speaks volumes as to how far AB will go to placate those in this country who sow hate and division. Like Mr. Whitworth, we too have been taught the importance of accountability and the values upon which America has been founded: freedom, hard work, and respect for one another. However, it seems these words are lost on Mr. Whitworth and Anheuser-Busch. For true freedom, hard work, and respect would mean honoring Miss Mulvaney's journey and the entire LGBTQIA+ community in its fight for the same human rights as those enjoyed by the people to whom Anheuser-Busch apparently prefers to market and sell its products. The recovery time for Bud Light will depend on the extent and the duration of the backlash and the boycott, though. The next moves by Anheuser-Busch over the next few months will define their ability to redirect consumers' attention on the brand's new messaging. The key points related to incidents like this is to remember that Anheuser-Busch is a beer company. It is not a social or political organization. Like all companies that advertise, they try to create an emotional connection between their products' brands with their customers that represents something that the customer wants to see in themselves. For a number of Bud Light's traditional or core consumers, this incident represented a significant disconnect with the traditional brand image that fractured their emotional connection with the brand. In response, Anheuser-Busch has made commitments to their distributors that they will significantly increase their marketing efforts over the year to come in order to redress the previous lower spending and also to help counter the current brand attack and to help boost sales for later events. Companies will rarely take the lead in cultural and political issues, particularly when the issues are still being hotly debated, as they run the risk of polarizing their position and cutting out segments of available markets. No company can be all things to all people, and attempting to do so will often end badly. Will Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light survive this? I don't think there's any doubt about that. Will they suffer in the short term financially? Definitely. Customers, however, increasingly want to feel like the products that they buy represent their values. But those values are often opposed, creating a tricky situation for advertisers who want to convince everyone that their product is right for them. There are two trends that are colliding. People are much more interested than ever before in the underlying value of the brands. And at the same time, there's this political polarization of the country. The communication from Bud Light is not clear. Is this coming from your value set, or are these things just trending? You have to know what your values are and what are the values of the customers that you're trying to reach. Some brands are able to walk the line or pick a side and stick with it. On this particular incident, it's pretty clear that Bud Light seems to have failed on both counts. Thanks very much for watching, and we hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to give us a quick like and subscribe so you'll get notified of our upcoming videos that we're working on. We'll see you next time.